Hello, welcome back to part 2 of our visit with the crazy chicken lady and my friend Kayleen. Today, amongst other things, we're going to talk about how old you should keep your birds, what her favorite breeds are, and some advice for new chicken owners. So let's go talk to Kayleen.
Right now, this time of year, because of the heat that we've had the last few days, my production has gone down. I'm getting between 2.5 and 3 dozen right now. And I have a lot of birds, and I do cycle them through, probably not as frequently as I should, getting rid of some older hens, making sure I have new viable production laying hens. But I get kind of attached to some of my older hens, so it's kind of hard to get rid of them. Right now I probably have some older hens that I need to move, and I typically will try to sell those on Craigslist to people that want to start, getting fresh eggs, but don't want to be inundated with chicken eggs. And in this case, they would be getting anywhere from 2 to 4 eggs a week from a hen because of her age.
Okay, besides making money off your chickens, I know you love your chickens.
I do.
And you'll hold on to them a little too long maybe. But if we were just counting the pennies, what age are we getting rid of our chickens? How long are we keeping them? And then what age are we getting rid of them? Like they're no longer like super prime layers.
So there's at least one factor in that. If you light your chickens in the wintertime to where they're producing all winter, I'd move them at 2 years old, 2.5 at the most. Because what you're doing is you're, for lack of a better term, forcing them to lay out of season. If you do not light your birds in the wintertime, then your chickens could probably still be good producers up till 3 years old. And at that point in time, then they're going to start, tapering off as far as their production per week.
Besides individual birds, you named one breed. There's so many breeds out there. If you were gonna give advice to someone starting chickens, name your top few. I mean, okay. 2 to 5, like this is the breed that you should get. Okay.
Well, first and foremost, it would be the buff Orpington. Very docile bird, very social, very easily socialized. Pretty good production. The next would be your Rhode Island Red or your production red. Again, that bird's not really social, but she cranks eggs out like that's no tomorrow. Your leghorn, or as I call them, leghorns, that's your typical commercial bird, white egg layer, and they lay monstrous eggs given the size of their bodies. Yeah. Your I said Rhode Island Red. Your Plymouth Rock, Barred Rock are a good layer as well, and that's probably a good 4 that I would go with if I was starting a flock.
My favorite, and I'll get most of, is the Barred Rock.
Yep.
Not only do they good layers, but genetically speaking, they're so calm. And like I end up taking my chickens to the petting zoo on my Christmas tree farm, and I don't even take the other birds. I take the Barred Rocks, they'll come walk up to you and feed, and I will absolutely not take a white leghorn out there because they are a great egg layers, but they are so skittish and they run around crazy and just stir things up. So
they're super flighty, yes. I agree with that. So,
okay, a lot of people come to YouTube. Some of them might be here today looking to start a chicken or learn a little bit more. If someone came to you and said, I'm going to start putting chickens on my property, what's a couple things that you would warn them to do or not do because they're common mistakes you see?
Okay. Well, I know that a lot of people, when they go in to buy chicks for the first time, they're like, all enthusiastic about it. Oh, look at that cute chickie. And they have a tendency to put the cart before the horse, or the chick before the coop and the run. So the first thing I would tell you is be prepared. Don't get chicks unless you have some place to house them, because chicks grow very quickly.
Yes, they do.
And they're going to run you out of house and home if you have them inside a garage in a area where you're raising them. So make sure that the coop and the run is ready to receive your young pullets and cockerels when you're ready to put them in a coop. And they're like, oh my gosh, we don't have a coop built. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I told you. You got to build your coop and your run first before you get your stupid chickens. Anyway.
I like that when the camera's off, you're more animated, more yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, give us some stories of success and failures. Just give us some chicken stories.
Okay. Well, I could tell, this was just a fluke that happened back in 2012. It was just a couple years after I'd started my chickens, and it happened to be with one of my barred rocks. I'd been in and out of my house all day long, and it was a day like it today, nice and sunny, and all my chickens were flying up, and I have about, I don't know if it's quite an acre, but a pretty good size chicken run, and all my chickens were airborne heading in that direction towards the pole building. I come running out, stop by my gate, and look out on my sidewalk that I have here, and there stands a bobcat with one of my barred rocks in its mouth. Oh, I screamed bloody murder, turned around for a split second. By the time I had turned around, it had dropped the chicken and had scaled, jumped over the fence and was long gone. Well, that bobcat proceeded to continue coming back year after year. Actually, if you remember, you brought your chickens over here because we tried to shoot it because it was destroying my flock, and scared it away enough to where I think we scared it over to your house. Yeah. And then you ended up bringing your chickens over here to where you thought they would be safer based on the fencing and, you know, how often I'm home. But it still came back, and that was, I lost a lot of birds to that cat that year.
Yeah. We saw them in our pasture, but never when I had my rifle in my hands.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway.
So that's one story. Gee, other stories. Oh, well, I will just, Harry, the mottled Hooten that I had, she was quite the acrobat. Well, I don't mean that she was very acrobatic, but anytime I was bent over out in this orchard, if she was anywhere around me, she would literally jump on my back. And as I stood up, she would walk up my back and then just sit on my shoulder. I could walk around the whole orchard with her sitting on my shoulder. And that was, that's how she became so endearing to me, is because she was just super social, just like my Buff Orpington Gooby was.
Okay, so do you have a favorite chicken of all these birds running around? Do you have a favorite one, or did you have a favorite one?
Well, I have a good breed, which is the Buff Orpington, and I did have a favorite hen. She was born, well, she wasn't born with, or didn't hatch with this problem, but she ended up with a scissor beak. That's basically where the beak is not lined up straight. It just kind of crosses over. So I kind of favored her when she was a little thing and fed her out of my hand. And she ended up being named Gooby, and she was very social. She would follow me everywhere. If you and I were standing in the orchard talking, she would literally come up to my leg or your leg, and she, with her beak, would just kind of tap you on the leg and then cock her head sideways, look up at you like, I want to be part of this conversation. You gonna pick me up? So you pick her up, super happy. I would sit here on the concrete behind me, and she would immediately trot over, jump on my lap, and immediately proceed to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Another hen that I had, which was a fluke. I didn't look for this breed, but I was looking for a breed called the Mottled Java at a big box store, and I ended up with what's called a Mottled Hooten, which has the little Polish crest, the little crest on top of their head. She's going up to lay an egg.
Yeah.
But her name, it was a hen, and her name was Harry. And unfortunately, in both those cases, I lost Gooby at about 8 years old. It'll be 2 years this December. And I was devastated when I lost her. And Harry, the mottled Hooten, happened to nest out in one of the apple trees out here in the orchard, or the chicken run, and I found her the next morning. A predator had gotten her, so I was not very happy about that either. So the two dark Brahmas there, that one walking and then the one sitting on the far left corner, were rescued as babies. And I have a buff Brahma that came with them as well. And they were rescued at probably about a week and a half old, where the mother abandoned them. So I raised them with my older chicks. No mom.
No mom.
No mom.
Thanks for joining me on part 2 with my friend, the Crazy Chicken Lady. And I hope to see you in part 3, which will be coming up soon, where we'll be talking about her feeder, her waterer, and her disdain for big box stores and getting her supplies and her chickens. So I hope to see you again soon on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching including horticulture is my job, and outdoor projects including raising chickens